Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are here to discuss about one interesting topic which is a ReLU function. Okay, so now I would be discussing about like what is a ReLU function and how different this ReLU function is as compared with your other activation functions. Like you have a tanh function and you have a sigmoid function. So how better is ReLU function as compared over this, and why ReLU is one of the most preferred activation functions today as compared to tanh and sigmoid. Okay, so now ReLU, it stands for rectified linear activation unit. Okay, so this is the full form of ReLU. So ReLU is piecewise linear function that will output the input directly if it is positive, or otherwise it will output 0. Okay, so now if we draw the plot of ReLU, you all know the ReLU function, it looks somewhat like this. Okay, so like so it will look somewhat like this. So if your input value is less than 0, it will give a value of 0, and if it is more than 0, it will give the same value. So it is a piecewise linear function. Okay, so now like it is easier to train and often achieves better performance. Okay, so the sigmoid and hyperbolic tangent functions cannot be used in networks with many layers due to the vanishing gradient problem. Okay, so if you have your neural network is really deep, really deep means like you have so many layers, somewhere around 10 layers. So like if you are having around 10 layers, so your this activation function, it won't work properly. This is because of the vanishing gradient problem. Like what exactly is vanishing gradient problem, I would be discussing it here. Okay, so now the rectified linear function overcomes the vanishing gradient problem, allowing models to run faster and perform better. Okay, so the ReLU function, it allows model to learn faster and perform better. Now the rectified linear activation function is the default activation while developing a multi-layer perceptron and convolutional neural networks. Okay, so wherever you have many number of layers, so your ReLU function is the by default function activation function that we are using. Okay, so now what exactly is the purpose of activation function? Like in neural network, you are feeding the input, okay, and you are feeding the bias, and so whatever it is, we have weights along with it, we are giving a x, and the bias is b. So now the output from this node, it will be somewhat like x into w dot multiplication plus your bias, but somewhat we are feeding this to an activation function. Like what exactly is the purpose of an activation function? Like we are feeding our like output of this node to the activation function, like what exactly the use of it. Okay, so now a network is composed of only linear activation function is easy to train, but it cannot learn complex mapping function. Okay, so our primary purpose of neural network is to use it in your non-general purpose data like images and your text. So these are very complicated function, and machine learning algorithms, they may not be sufficient on that. So because of this, we use neural networks. So if we have a linear activation function, so it is not sufficient because the decision boundary is not linear for your problem statements where the decision boundary, if it is not linear, okay, if it is non-linear somewhat like this, okay, so in these cases we are using ReLU, sorry, we are using your activation functions. Okay, hard if we had your your if we had your linear layers, like linearly separable layers, or so in this case our machine learning models would have been sufficient, but we are using neural network in cases where your decision boundaries is not linear and is not clearly separable. So if we use a linear activation function, it cannot properly separate you separate your your decision boundaries. It cannot approximate your decision boundaries. So this is why we have a non-linear activation functions. Okay, so non-linear activation functions are preferred as they allow the nodes to learn more complex structures in the data. Okay, so now two widely used non-linear activation functions are the sigmoid and the hyperbolic tangent function. Okay, your sigmoid function and another is the hyperbolic, it's another is the hyperbolic tangent function. The tanh function, so basically the tanh function, it is preferred over the sigmoid function as the model that used were easier to train and often have better predictive performance. So tanh function is more preferred over your sigmoid function. Okay, now where does ReLU fit into place? So there are some problem of sigmoid and tanh function. Like what are these problems? Okay, so now the first problem is that sigmoid and tanh function saturate. Okay, what exactly do we mean by sigmoid and tanh function saturate? Okay, so your large values they snap to 1 and small values they snap to -1 or 0 for tanh and sigmoid respectively. Okay, so these functions, like what exactly is happening, see, this is how your function it looks like. Okay, this is how your function looks like. Now what exactly is happening? So these functions are sensitive to changes around the midpoint of their input, such as 0.5 for sigmoid and 0.0 for tanh. Okay, in case of sigmoid function, like 0.5, you see the slope, it is quite large. Okay, so why the slope is large? The slope means delta x by delta y. Okay, sorry, delta y by delta x. This is called a slope. If you see the changes here, the changes are quite large in nature. Okay, so these changes they are happening, but if you see here, the your here the derivative or the changes they are very slow, very less, but here the changes is very large. So this is what we mean by the saturate. Okay, and the sensitivity here it is highly sensitive, and in this portion it is very less sensitive because the derivative is less. In this portion it is highly sensitive. Okay, we all know derivative means your delta y by delta x. So this is your derivative. If you see this function, it is happening over here, but if you see over this portion, okay, if you see over this portion, the change is very less. So it is not happening over here. It is ununiformly it is distributed. Okay, so now because of this, the output of sigmoid it saturates, that is the curve becomes parallel to x-axis for a large positive or large negative number. Thus the slope of all these regions is almost 0. Okay, so what happens because of this? During back propagation, this local gradient is multiplied with the gradient of the gate's output. So if the local gradient is very small, it will kill the gradient and the network will not learn. Okay, now let's say, okay, here your gradient value it comes to somewhat around, say your gradient value is 0.005. Okay, now your weights value, let's say it is 0.0001. If you multiply these two, the value it becomes a very small number, and if you are multiplying this with the weight vector, and again you are doing these calculations, this becomes a very small number, and your weights they will not change. If your weights will not change, then your network will not learn. If your network will not learn, there is no purpose of that. So this is a very big disadvantage with your tanh and sigmoid function. Okay, so now the other thing is the amount of error decreases dramatically with each additional layer through it is propagated, giving the derivative of the chosen activation function. This is called vanishing gradient problem and prevents deep multi-layer networks from learning effectively. Okay, so when you are applying this derivative so many times, and you have many number of layers, okay, so your value it becomes further very small, and as your value becomes very small, your network fails to learn. So this problem is called your vanishing gradient problem, which is corrected by ReLU. Now how ReLU does this? Okay, so in ReLU function, if you see the function, it is like this. Okay, now for these things, okay, for less than 0 it's 0, the value is 0, and for greater than 0 it's the same thing. Okay, so now if you see the function is happening everywhere. The derivative is 1 here, and here the derivative value is 0, and here the derivative value is 1. So from 0 to infinity, if we go on, the value is considered with 0. But remember, here the function is not you cannot take the derivative at 0. Here we assume that the derivative is 0, but exactly the derivative is not 0. But if you see, from 0 to infinity, the derivative is 1. So we have a value. So this is why it is called a piecewise nonlinear function, because if you see this portion and this portion individually, they are linear function, but if together they add, then they become a nonlinear function. Okay, so now moving on to the next part. So ReLU function, it is represented as, if input is greater than 0, you return the input, else you return 0. Okay, so now this if it is greater than 0, it will look like this, because we get exactly the input as the output. So this is a straight line, like y equal to x. Okay, y equal to x, and the angle here it's 45 degree. Okay, so this will be midway. So now how a ReLU function is non-linear? Okay, the function is linear for values greater than 0. It is non-linear function, and negative values will always output as 0. Because the rectified linear function is linear for half of the input domain and non-linear for the other half, it is called as piecewise linear function or a hinge function. This I was explaining to you. It is called as a piecewise linear function or a hinge function. Okay, the slope of negative values is 0 and the slope of positive values is 1. Okay, how the slope of positive value is 1? Say like for if I am giving 3, my output will also be 3. Okay, now if I am giving 2, the output will also be 2. Okay, so now if you compute delta x by delta y here, okay, delta y by delta x here, okay, this will be equal to 1 by 1, which is equal to 1. So always, you know, always this will come 1. Okay, now I want to discuss with you another interesting thing, and like this is really important. I want to show you one link. You can go through this link. Okay, so just if you see this link, like what it is giving. See, this is a topic, like it tells why ReLU is non-linear. If you go through it, see your ReLU function, ReLU of x minus c equal to 0 for x is less than or equal to c. Okay, so this basically by default we are taking c as 0, but if I take my c as 1, so if my x is less than 1, okay, so if my x, okay, so in case for values less than 1, okay, so this will be 0, and then the rest it will be same thing. Okay, it will be a straight line. Now therefore if I can write f of x plus ReLU x minus c is equal to f of x for x is less than or equal to c. Okay, because this portion will become 0, so f of x will be equal to f of x. Okay, so now if I draw this thing, it will be represented like this. Okay, it will be represented like this. See, okay, like this. Okay, so you have one line over here, you have one line over here, then again on the top you have something like this. Okay, now you understand, like because of this angle I can make some non-linear boundaries. Okay, so now if I model it accordingly, I can, like say, if I model it accordingly, I can make some boundary like this. Okay, so now because of this, you know, if I have a non-linear boundary which it will be like this, if I use more ReLU functions and more number of layers, then I can make an approximation. Okay, so if I use more, and what exactly is a circle? A circle, you know, it is consists of infinitely many lines like this, and then it will become a circle. So if I have more and more number of ReLU layers, depending on the requirements, I can approximate any boundary. So even though my ReLU function, you know, it is linear, but but if I add them piecewise, then it becomes a non-linear function. So this is the purpose of ReLU. Please go through this link I have given at the end, and you know, you will be amazed by reading this. So now, what are the advantages of ReLU function? Okay, first thing is, it is very simple to implement, because see, there are no much calculations over it. It's very simple thing. If input is greater than 0, return input, else you return 0. So now, and the other thing is that it is capable of giving output a true 0 value. Okay, now what exactly this mean? Now the graph of your sigmoid or tan h, it you know, it see, like what exactly happening. If sigmoid and tan h, you see the value, it is not, see, the value is like this, but at infinite, you know, at very infinite value, it becomes 0, which is not a value. So it will be infinitesimally very small value, but exactly we are not getting any 0 value. But in case of ReLU, we can get a 0 value close to 0. We get a value close to 0 in sigmoid and tan h, but not true 0 values. But in ReLU, we can get a 0 value. Now getting a 0 value is called a sparse representation, and like, you know, it is desired in many neural network learning algorithms, and it simplifies the model. Okay, so now the other advantage is a neural network is easier to optimize when its behavior is linear or close to linear. Okay, so now the important thing is ReLU can be used with your multilayer perceptron and convolutional neural networks, but ReLU is not used with LSTM. LSTM use tan h activation function, because you know, LSTM have this state wise, and you know, you are feeding for a natural language processing, we are using LSTMs, and ReLU, they seem inappropriate because they can have very large outputs, which is not desired with your recurrent neural network. And there is one more thing: when you are using ReLU with a network, you take bias to a very small value such as 0.1. Keep it less than 1 and it will work. Okay, so this is your ReLU. I hope you find this video useful. So please like and subscribe. Okay, thank you very much.